The morning my husband won the lottery started like any other Tuesday. I was already at my office, hidden behind the carefully crafted facade of a mid-level marketing manager, when Marcus called me, his voice trembling with excitement. "Emily, you won't believe what happened," he practically shouted through the phone. "I won. I actually won." "Won what?" I asked, trying to focus on the quarterly reports spread across my desk. Being a secret CEO meant maintaining two completely different lives, and Tuesday mornings were always busy with executive meetings. "The lottery. $8 million. Marcus's voice cracked with emotion. "Can you believe it? We're rich." I leaned back in my chair, a small smile playing at my lips. $8 million. It was roughly what my company made in a single day. "That's wonderful, honey," I said, genuinely happy for him. Despite our differences, I'd never wished him ill. "We should celebrate tonight." "About that." His voice suddenly shifted, taking on an edge I'd heard before. The same tone he'd used when telling me he'd borrowed money from our joint account to invest in his friend's failed startup. "I think we need to talk." My stomach tightened. I'd been married to Marcus for 5 years, long enough to know when something was wrong. "Talk about what?" "I'll tell you tonight," he said quickly. "Just don't make any plans." I spent the rest of the day in a fog, running my company on autopilot while my mind raced through possibilities. Marcus and I had been struggling lately, but I'd attributed it to the usual stresses: his failing construction business, my need to maintain my secret identity, the constant pressure from his family to start having children. When I pulled into our driveway that evening, Marcus's car was already there. The lights were on in our modest 3-bedroom house, modest by my standards at least. We'd bought it together when we first married, back when I was still playing the role of a simple marketing manager, and Marcus was convinced his construction company would make him a millionaire. I found him in the kitchen, a glass of whiskey in his hand. He'd changed into his power suit, the one he wore to important business meetings. It was slightly too tight around the middle now, a testament to 5 years of stress eating and declining gym visits. "We need to talk," he said, not even bothering with a greeting. I set my purse down on the counter. "About the lottery?" "About us." He took a long sip of whiskey. "I want a divorce." The words hung in the air between us. I'd suspected this might be coming, but the timing was what caught me off guard. "Because you won the lottery?" "Don't make this ugly, Emily." He set the glass down hard enough to make me wince. "We both know this marriage hasn't been working. The lottery, it's just given me the courage to finally do something about it." "The courage?" I couldn't keep the edge out of my voice. "Or the money?" His face flushed. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means that after 5 years of marriage, you win some money and suddenly want out. Seems convenient, don't you think?" "Convenient?" He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You want to talk about convenient? How about how you've never supported my dreams? Always playing it safe with your little marketing job, never willing to invest in my business." I bit back a retort. If he only knew how many times I'd secretly steered contracts his way, how many strings I'd pulled to keep his failing company afloat. "I supported you plenty," I said instead. "I paid the mortgage when your company was in the red. I covered the bills when you lost everything in that cryptocurrency scheme. And you never let me forget it." He slammed his hand on the counter. "Always the responsible one, always the one making the smart decisions." "Well, guess what? I finally made it. $8 million, Emily. More money than you'll ever see in your life." I couldn't help it, I laughed. The sound seemed to enrage him further. "You think this is funny?" he snarled. "I'm serious. I want a divorce, and I'm not giving you a penny of my winnings. You can keep your precious house and your safe little job. I'm done living small." "Living small?" I echoed, thinking of the boardroom where I'd just approved a $100 million acquisition that morning. "Yes, small. Like you. Always satisfied with mediocrity, always afraid to take risks." He started pacing the kitchen. "Do you know what I'm going to do with $8 million? I'm going to expand my construction company. I'm going to take on bigger projects, compete with the major players. And you know what the best part is?" I raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" "I won't need your approval. Won't need your permission. Won't need your—" He waved his hand dismissively, "financial support." I watched him rant. This man I'd married 5 years ago when he was full of dreams and determination. The man who'd promised to build us an empire together. The man who had no idea that I was already running one. "There's something you should know," I started to say, but he cut me off. "Save it. I've already called my lawyer. He's drawing up the papers." Marcus finished his whiskey in one gulp. I'm staying at my brother's tonight. You can have the house. Consider it a parting gift. After all, you'll need somewhere to live on a marketing manager's salary. He grabbed his keys from the counter, already heading for the door. Oh, and one more thing, he added, turning back with a smirk. Remember that big client I told you about? The one that could change everything for my company? Well, they're about to sign a massive contract with me. 8 figures, Emily. So even without the lottery, I was going to be just fine. I felt a smile tugging at my lips. You mean Preston Development Group? He stopped, hand on the doorknob. How did you know that? Because Marcus, I said, finally allowing myself to drop the facade I'd maintained for 5 years. I'm the one who has to sign that contract. He turned slowly, confusion written across his face. What are you talking about? I'm not just a marketing manager, I said, pulling out my phone and pulling up an email. I'm the CEO of Preston Development Group. Have been for the last 7 years. The color drained from his face. That's not possible. I've met with their executives. I've been negotiating with their team for months. Yes, you have, I agreed. But the final approval always comes from the CEO. From me. I turned my phone to show him the email chain discussing his company's bid. Did you really think your small company with its spotty record just happened to make it to the final round of bidding for a $100 million project? Marcus staggered back, groping for the counter to steady himself. You're lying. Am I? I stepped closer, letting him see the full extent of what I'd been hiding. Why do you think you always seem to land contracts just when your company was about to go under? Why do you think bigger firms were suddenly willing to subcontract to you? Did you think it was all just luck? But your job, your office. A cover. One of several I maintain across our subsidiaries. I shrugged. It's easier to run things when people don't know who you really are. Keeps things honest. He sank into a kitchen chair, his face ashen. $8 million, he whispered. Is a lot of money, I agreed. But it's nothing compared to what you just threw away. I picked up his empty whiskey glass, rinsing it in the sink. By the way, that contract you were so excited about? The one that was going to change everything. I dried my hands on a dish towel. Consider it canceled. You can't do that, he protested weakly. I can, and I will. I turned to face him, letting him see the full weight of my authority. And it won't stop there. You see, Preston Development Group isn't just your biggest potential client. We're connected to nearly every major construction project in the region. One word from me, and your company won't get so much as a sidewalk repair contract. That's illegal, he sputtered. No, it's business. I picked up my purse. You wanted to play in the big leagues, Marcus? Well, congratulations. You just made it. And your first lesson. I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Never underestimate the competition. I headed for the door, pausing with my hand on the knob. Oh, and about that divorce? Have your lawyer call Preston Development Group's legal team. I'm sure they'll be very interested in discussing the terms. As I walked to my car, I could hear the sound of breaking glass from inside the house. Marcus was learning a hard lesson about karma, about consequences, about the true meaning of power. $8 million had made him feel invincible for a few brief hours. I started my engine, thinking about the meeting I had scheduled for tomorrow morning. A meeting where I would systematically begin dismantling everything Marcus had built. Not out of spite, but because he'd finally shown me who he really was. A man who would throw away 5 years of marriage for money, who would abandon his wife the moment he thought he didn't need her anymore. My phone buzzed with a text from my assistant. Emergency board meeting called for 8 a.m. Topic: acquisition of failed construction companies in the region. I smiled as I typed my response. Perfect. And Sarah? Add Stellar Construction to the top of the list. Marcus had wanted to play with the big fish. He was about to find out just how deep the water could get. By morning, my revelation had spread through Marcus's entire family like wildfire. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from his mother, his sisters, even his cousins, all suddenly very interested in working things out. I ignored them all as I walked into Preston Development Group's headquarters, a gleaming 50-story tower in the heart of downtown. The security guard nodded respectfully as I made my way to the private elevator. No more pretending to be a mid-level manager. No more hiding. The board meeting was already in session when I arrived. Emily, Richard, our CFO, greeted me with a knowing smile. I take it yesterday was eventful? You could say that. I took my seat at the head of the table, surveying the faces of my executive team. These people knew the real me, had helped me maintain my cover for years. Let's talk about Stellar Construction. Your husband's company? Angela, our head of legal, pulled up some documents on her tablet. Based on our analysis, they're significantly over-leveraged. Even with his recent windfall, they're in no position to handle major contracts. Ex-husband, I corrected. And yes, that's precisely why we're here. For the next hour, we meticulously planned the dismantling of Marcus's company. It wasn't personal. Well, maybe a little personal, but it was primarily business. A company like his, run by someone with his temperament and judgment, was a liability to the industry. As we wrapped up, my assistant Sarah hurried in. Ma'am, Marcus is in the lobby. He's demanding to see you. I checked my watch. Right on schedule. Angela, would you mind staying? I made him wait 30 minutes before allowing him up. When he finally burst into my office, his face was red with anger and what looked like a hangover. You've been lying to me for 5 years, he shouted. Technically, I just never told you what I really did for a living, I replied calmly. You never asked. Never asked? You deliberately misled me. All those times I talked about my business struggles, you just sat there pretending to be some middle manager. And all those times I helped you, I reminded him. Who do you think kept steering contracts your way? Who do you think made sure your bids were always considered, even when they shouldn't have been? I didn't need your help, he spat. I built my company myself. Angela cleared her throat. Mr. Thompson, according to our records, 60% of your company's contracts over the past 3 years came through Preston Development Group or our subsidiaries. Marcus's face paled. That's not possible. Would you like to see the documentation? Angela offered, pulling out a thick folder. He ignored her, focusing his anger on me. You manipulated me. Controlled me. I supported you, I corrected. I believed in you. Even when you made terrible decisions, even when you lost our savings on get-rich-quick schemes, I stood by you. And the moment you thought you didn't need me anymore, what did you do? The lottery money is mine, he said quickly. You can't touch that. Keep it. I waved dismissively. I make that much in bonuses every quarter. But your company. I leaned forward. That's a different story. What do you mean? Angela stepped in again. Preston Development Group is exercising its right to review all existing contracts with Stellar Construction. Given recent events and concerns about the company's stability, we're initiating our termination clauses. You can't do that. Marcus's voice cracked. Those contracts are binding. Read the fine print, I suggested. Angela here wrote most of it herself. He slumped into a chair, the fight draining out of him. This will ruin me. No, I said softly. Your own actions ruined you. The lottery money gave you a glimpse of power, and the first thing you did was try to hurt the person who's been protecting you all along. I'll fight this, he threatened. I'll go public. Tell everyone how you deceived me. Go ahead. I smiled. Tell everyone how the CEO of a major corporation spent 5 years helping your small company succeed. Tell them how she used her position to steer contracts your way, support your dreams, keep you afloat. I'm sure the press will love that story. The fight left his eyes. What do you want? Originally, a husband who would love me for who I am, not what I could give him. I stood up. Now, nothing. Keep your lottery winnings. Try to rebuild somewhere else. But not here. Not in my city. Your city? He laughed bitterly. You really are powerful, aren't you? More than you know. I nodded to Angela, who handed him a folder. These are the divorce papers. My terms are simple. You keep your lottery winnings, I keep my company and all its assets. We both walk away. And if I don't sign, then we do this the hard way. We investigate every contract, every bid, every decision you've made while benefiting from my position. We look into how many times you've used insider information from our dinner conversations. We examine every penny that flowed from my company's to yours. I paused. Do you really want that? He stared at the papers for a long moment. I really never knew you, did I? No, I agreed. You never tried to. After he left, Angela stayed behind. That was almost too easy. He'll be back, I said, staring out my office window at the city below. Once the shock wears off, once he talks to his lawyers, he'll try something. I was right. 3 days later, Marcus launched his counterattack. He went to our competitors, trying to expose what he called my unethical business practices. He filed complaints with regulatory bodies, claiming I had abused my position. He even tried to rally other small construction companies against Preston Development Group. But I had anticipated every move. Angela had documentation showing all contracts with Stellar Construction had been properly awarded. Our compliance department had records of every decision, every approval, all above board. And as for the other construction companies, they weren't eager to attack their biggest potential client. The final blow came from an unexpected source. Marcus's own mother called me, begging for a meeting. "I know my son," she said over coffee in my office. "He's always been ambitious, but not always wise." "I noticed," I said dryly. "He's burning through that lottery money already," she continued. "Buying cars, making risky investments. He won't listen to reason. That's not my problem anymore." "No," she agreed. "But his lawsuit against you? His attempts to damage your reputation? That is your problem." She pulled out her phone, showing me texts from Marcus. "He's planning to go to the media next week. Make up stories about corporate corruption. Why are you telling me this? Because you were good to him. Good to all of us. And he's wrong." She met my eyes. "I have proof of his plans, his attempts to blackmail you. If you need it." I studied her carefully. "Why would you do that to your own son?" "Because sometimes love means stopping someone from destroying themselves." She stood up. "Use it or don't. But know it's there." In the end, I didn't need her help. Marcus's own actions brought him down. He spent millions of his lottery winnings trying to fight me, hired expensive lawyers who took one look at our documentation and advised him to back off, and burned through the rest on what he called strategic investments. 8 months after our split, I heard he'd moved to another state, his construction company sold for pennies on the dollar, his lottery winnings largely gone. His mother still sends me Christmas cards. As for me, I finally stepped fully into my power. No more hiding, no more pretending to be less than I am. I expanded Preston Development Group, acquired several smaller companies, though not Marcus's, that would have felt too much like twisting the knife, and focused on building something lasting. Last week, I received a letter from Marcus. "I understand now," he wrote. "You weren't controlling me. You were giving me a chance to grow, to succeed on my own terms. I was too blind to see it, too proud to appreciate it. The lottery didn't ruin me. I ruined myself." I didn't reply. Some chapters are better left closed. Instead, I focused on the future. Preston Development Group is launching a new initiative next month. A program to support small construction companies, helping them grow sustainably, teaching them the right way to build success. We're calling it the Second Chance Program. Marcus's mother called when she heard about it. "You're still helping people," she said. "Even after everything." "I'm still me," I replied. "That hasn't changed." And it's true. Money, power, position, none of that defines who you are. It's what you do with it that matters. Marcus thought $8 million made him invincible. I knew better. True power isn't about how much money you have or what you can take from others. It's about what you choose to build. Yesterday, I approved the first round of companies for our Second Chance program. Small businesses, like Marcus's once was, run by people with big dreams. Some will succeed. Some will fail. But all of them will have a fair chance. Not because of who they know or who they're married to, but because of what they're willing to work for. As I signed the approval documents, I thought about that morning when Marcus called to tell me about winning the lottery. $8 million had seemed like such a fortune to him. He never understood that the real fortune was in building something that lasts, in using your power to lift others up, not tear them down. I keep his lottery ticket framed in my office now. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder. Money can change your circumstances, but it can't change your character. That's something you have to build yourself, one choice at a time. And sometimes the biggest power move of all is choosing to help someone else succeed, even if they never know you're the one behind their success. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.